Kendrick Lamar is the biggest rapper in the world right now, and here is why. Now, we just got the amount of money that Kendrick's Big Steppers tour brought in. And get ready for this. Hold your chair because this tour brought in $110.9 million. I mean, that is absolutely absurd. If you look at the highest grossing tours before this show, you had Travis Scott's Air Show World Tour, Kendrick's own Damn Tour, you had Jay-Z and Kanye's Watch the Throne Tour, the one where they performed Paris 11 times in a row, like one of the most legendary tours of all time. You had Drake and Future Summer 16 Tour, and you had Drake's Aubrey and the Three Migos Tour, and none of those even come close to the amount of money that the Big Steppers brought in. The Aubrey and the Three Migos tour was the highest grossing hip hop tour before this, bringing in $79 million. But Kendrick has destroyed that number, as you can see, bringing in over $30 million more dollars than Drake did. So I know a lot of people always like to say that Drake is the best rapper in the world. Drake makes everybody go crazy. Everybody knows Drake's latest songs, his oldest songs, and Drake has the most streaming numbers, which, hey, if you want to talk about streaming numbers, yeah, you are right. Drake is more popular than Kendrick Lamar. But when we compare these two, and you look at a figure like this, when you look at who is putting butts in seats, it's clear that Kendrick has a wider dominance on the world and on the culture. I mean, when you really look at this dominance, this is absurd. I think some people, if you're an economist, if you're into business, you may run to the comments and try to tell me, oh, Kendrick's making this much money because of inflation, but that's not even true, because let's look at the post thing that I can't say because YouTube will demonetize this video tour numbers. If you look at the other big hip hop tours, the off-season tour, which obviously was J. Cole and 21 Savage, that brought in about $30 million. Tyler, the Creator's Call Me If You Get Lost tour brought in $32 million. So when you compare it to those tours, which those were huge events, I mean, it's not even comparable with how much money the Big Steppers tour brought in. So when you look at Kendrick's success, the question is, how did he do this? Now, the first thing that I want to note, and I think is the most impressive factor out of all of this, is that when you look at the off-season tour, the opener was 21 Savage, or, when you look at Drake's highest grossing tours, he had these big ticket artists who were arguably as hot as him at the time touring right alongside him. And he's doing that again with 21 Savage with the It's a Blur tour. So I think it's really interesting how Kendrick Lamar goes on tour with, his own PG Lang crew, which is just Tana Leone, who's a relatively smaller artist, who's blowing up, but definitely does not have the power to, sell out arenas. And Baby Keem, who, is also really hot, but he is nowhere near as popular as Amigos were or a Future were at the time when they toured with Drake. So Kendrick kept it within his own house, within his own crew, and was able to create an experience that was more exciting than most other shows that people could attend. Now, I think the dynamics between the PG Lang artists was definitely a reason why more people were drawn to see the Big Stepper show. When you look at how, Tana Leone came out when Kendrick did Mr. Morale, or how Baby Keem came out when he did Family Times, or just how good those opening sets were, especially Baby Keem's, I think a lot of people were really drawn to the unity that these artists had, the ecosystem that they kind of built together during the show. But even then, you gotta look at Kendrick Lamar and just his breathtaking performance for all of the success that this tour has brought in. I mean, first of all, the fact that this guy did 73 shows all over a couple of months, going from the US to the world with no break, that is really impressive, because if you know the logistics of a tour, it can be a sleepless experience. It can be a sleepless endeavor. So for Kendrick to be able to travel around the world and pull this off and give these high quality shows, that is really, really impressive. When you look at Kendrick's performance, though, it is no wonder why so many people were coming out to these shows. I mean, just from the effects and the presentation, everything about the Big Stepper show represents what tours should be. And also, another thing, the average ticket price was a lot cheaper, which I've talked about that in some past videos. I'm not going to start ranting about ticket prices, but the Big Steppers tour was a lot more affordable to see for, the average person, me and you. It was a lot more affordable to see than, this Drake tour or a lot of other tours. So that's another thing just to keep in the back of your head when you're discussing this success. It was a very wide appealing show that a lot of people were able to go and see. I mean, when I saw it, I went with like 15 people that I knew because, the prices were good and everybody loves Kendrick. It does not get better than that. And even when you look at the cultural impact of this tour, LeBron James came out to see it. Drake himself came out to see it. I was at the same show that Tyler the Creator was at, and that was insane. I mean, Tyler was in the back just dancing in the general admission area, and Kendrick was performing, and his performance was just so hypnotizing, so commanding that nobody noticed that Tyler was there. One of the most eccentric personalities in all of pop culture. So that really shows you the pull that Kendrick Lamar has. But I mean, from the ventriloquist, from the puppet in the beginning to, just the different sets, whether that was him sitting on a bed or whether that was him going in the box. Like, there was just so many legendary moments on this tour. I mean, I know if you went on that show, you remember the dancers coming out in the beginning with the Savior interlude music. Like, that was amazing. Everything about this show was just so perfectly planned out. It's no wonder why it was so successful. So, what I think is really interesting about this Big Steppers tour going forward is how will Drake respond? I wonder if this will, channel Drake to give better performances because in all honesty, when you look at the way Drake's performed recently, it's not bad, but it is nowhere near the level in terms of both the energy and just the production value where Kendrick has it. And that's a really big thing. And as people are outraged over the various, ticket scandals, the concert scandals, Drake is going to have a lot of pressure following up such a monumental hip hop event. It's really amazing that Kendrick has the pull that he has. And another thing that I think really goes to the success of this tour is the fact that Kendrick Lamar just is able to build such intimate relationships with every single person who listens to him. If you look at the Spotify, most streamed rappers and even most streamed artists, yeah, these guys can pull in big numbers and these artists can draw large crowds to their music, but sometimes it's not about finding the largest amount of people, it's about finding the right people because there's a ton of people who are listening to Drake, millions and millions of people, but they're not dedicated enough to him to go and see a show, to pay a large premium and really go see him. And with Kendrick Lamar, I mean, he's not a smaller artist. When you look at the top 10 most streamed rappers on Spotify, he's up there with 40 million plus monthly listeners every single month, like since Spotify's been around. But at the same time, the intimate relationship that he built, it creates a much different connection than, your run-of-the-mill trap artist or just your run-of-the-mill pop artist. The way Kendrick communicates with his fans just draws this way more powerful and personal connection, and it makes people want to go see him live. It makes people want to explore the music. It makes people want to buy the merch. It makes people want to read the lyrics. It's really amazing how the content of Kendrick and for how powerful his music is that he's able to reach such a wide audience. Most artists who, go for these more conceptually focused projects, who go for this topically heavy type of music, they usually don't perform as well as the big guns. But Kendrick is the outlier in this group. He is able to pull in the biggest numbers and he's able to bring in the most success, yet he's able to never compromise his artistic vision. And that is something that's really amazing. All in all, Kendrick Lamar breaking this record, nobody deserves it more than him. He has put on a one-of-a-kind experience, one-of-a-kind spectacle for us his entire career, and the Big Steppers really was just the payoff of everything that we've seen to this point. It was just purely amazing to see that show. It was one of the best shows that I ever went to. Kendrick was amazing on stage. He just has this persona, this presence that's just one of a kind. You cannot really describe it, but if you're in the building with him, you'll feel it and it will reel you in. So, huge shout out to Kendrick Lamar. This is amazing. And if you ask me, and I fully believe this, Kendrick Lamar is the biggest rapper in the world, and this proves why. At the end of the day, the streaming numbers will show you some things, but when you're putting people in seats, that is something that is way more powerful than anything else that you can ask for. What do you think of Kendrick Lamar breaking this record? Do you agree that he is the biggest rapper in the world? Did you go to the Big Steppers tour? Did you enjoy it? And are you going to go see Kendrick again in the future? Let me know. Thank you for watching. Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Hip Hop, signing out.